Hello and welcome to another episode of On My Bookshelf. And this week I'm going to look at something a little bit different. I'm going to take a look at a book by photographer Pete Souza called Obama. So I fully expect that some people have stopped watching this video already and given it a thumbs down, either because they think it's all about politics or they think it's all about Obama. That's not really the case. That's not why it's on my bookshelf. Let me tell you why it is. It's not on my bookshelf because I'm a fan of politics or even a fan of Obama himself, but I am a fan of photography. So even though I love landscape photography, I can appreciate photography in many other different forms, either as a pure art form, as a way of telling stories, or a way of using it as a documentary tool. I can still appreciate, hopefully, good photographs. With that all said, let's take a closer look at the book. Now, the book itself is a high quality hardback book, 350 pages long. It's a bit of a monster, that's for sure. There are over 300 pictures in there. These were culled actually down from over 2 million pictures that Pete took over his 8 years as chief White House photographer. So how he got from 2 million down to 300 is impressive in itself. But what a job. I mean, Pete was working, I think, 15-hour days. He's travelled over 1.5 million miles in Air Force One, and I can only imagine some of the things that he got to witness as chief White House photographer. But fortunately for us, he did obviously have his camera with us, so let's take a look at some of the images in this book that Pete took over his 8 years. First photograph I want to show you is this picture here of Obama relaxing on his chair, though judging by his expression he's certainly not relaxing, but there's some great light, and it's again one of those pictures where you think, you look at it and it asks a question, isn't it? You're trying to think, what's he thinking, you know, what's concerning him, you know. It's the power of that photograph can really make you try and get into the mind of what Obama was actually thinking at the time. Now this picture here, possibly one of the most famous pictures that Pete's ever taken. This was taken, I think they call it the Situation Room, down in the bottom of the White House. This is when they're watching the mission to get Osama bin Laden captured or killed, as it turned out. This is the thing about the job that Pete had. He was in a unique position. No other person that didn't have the necessary clearance or needed to be there would have been in that room. But Pete was. He was there capturing this moment. And this picture of all of them onlooking, watching the action as it happens, absolutely brilliant photograph. And I think it's going to be one of those photographs that's going to be in people's memories for a long time. And I think it really shows what an important job he had and the pressure that he had to capture images, important images like this. Now I do really like this shot, and there's a good reason why. As a photographer, if you're a portrait photographer, for example, and you got to photograph the Queen, you'd probably be quite happy. You might even think, oh wow, that's a pinnacle. I'm not going to photograph anyone more famous than that. Or you maybe photograph Tom Hanks, or you got to photograph Obama. I think that's David Cameron's wife there. But I mean, if you photographed any one of those three individuals at any one point in your life, you probably would have thought I've done quite well. But this is, again, the very unique position that Pete's been able to. He's managed to capture three of the most famous people on the planet. So from that point of view, I think it's a great photograph. Now this photograph, I think, again, goes back to Pete having this such unique access as chief White House photographer. It's a view that most people will never get to see. So I think he's inside his armoured car. I think it's got a name, I can't remember what it is. As he's left the White House, as he's coming to get on board his vehicle. And that's a view most people will never get to see. Now again, I like this picture here as well because it's got a little bit of humour in it. And actually, you forget that though the White House, I guess, is the centre of power for US politics, it's actually also a family home. You've got one of Obama's daughters coming into the Oval Office, and he's captured the moment brilliantly. And this is where the skill of the photographer comes in, because he's got the timing just right. The expression on her face, expression on his face, absolutely brilliant. Now I particularly like this image because it kind of reminds me almost of like the stone circle images that one might take when you're doing landscape images in certain parts of the UK. The way that you got Obama stood there And then you've got his Secret Service agents standing around him. They're all like these stone pillars, or like the faces in Easter Island. They just stood there and they could just be motionless. It's quite an interesting photograph. I find this image here particularly interesting because you can't see any of the adults' faces. You can't see the president's face, but you can only see the face of this boy as his president's hands come down and touch his face. A really powerful photograph, and again asks lots of questions of the viewer. What's happening? Who said what? And it's black and white. I think it's a really excellent photograph, and it really shows the versatility of Pete and the variety of images in this book. Well, I hope you enjoyed that look at Obama by Pete Souza. For me, it's been one of the most fascinating and interesting books on photography that I've looked at in a long time. So even though I'm a landscape photographer, I have to remember that my images, or I want my images to tell a story. I want them to tell a story of where I've been or what that scene was like. And by looking at other people's photography, even in different genres, you can see how that they've managed to try and tell stories and convey a sense of urgency or excitement or any other type of emotion. And you can do that through photography. So I think by looking at other genres and other people's photographs, I can take lessons from that and help that and build those into my landscape photographs. So yes, not a book for everyone, but for me, it was a really good book. And if you're even a fan of the wider range of photography genres out there, I think this will be well worth sitting on your bookshelf. Well, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd be really grateful if you could leave a comment and give it a thumbs up. I do try and read and reply to everyone's comments. Now, if you do want to see more content like this, please do take the time to hit that subscribe button, and if you hit the bell icon beside it, you'll receive a notification as soon as I post up a new video. But until the next one, I'll see you then.